Hello and welcome back to the Project Seed Money podcast. My name is Sharissa Bradley, and I am so excited to be joined today with author Cece Robinson. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing some time with us. And let's just get right into it.
I love that. Thank you for having me today, Sharissa.
Yes, it is my pleasure. So, how did you get into writing?
Accidentally? So I was one of those kids who loved to write and read as a kid. I think I lived at my local library. Like before they had bean bags and cute little chairs, I lived in the stacks. So I'm that total geek nerd kid. But I just never saw myself sharing my words with the world, if that makes sense. I would always be spinning stories, either in my head or on paper or orally, really anywhere. But it was in 2012, Trayvon Martin had just been murdered. And I was obviously, like the rest of the country, upset. And I had an all night dream where I saw our nation in a civil war that we fought over racial issues. Now, disclaimer, I am a pastor at a multi ethnic congregation in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a history of racial tensions and issues. And as a pastor in a congregation like this, we have to navigate conversations of reconciliation all the time. So to see our country devastated in the middle of a civil war in this dream, I was upset, needless to say, when I woke up. And it was kind of one of those all night dreams. And I was in it. I was in the Civil War, like not fighting, but in it, as if I were in a post apocalyptic movie or something. And I woke up and I'm in tears and I'm crying and I'm praying. Somehow I get back to sleep. And the dream skips 45 years, two generations, to a group of teenagers who are all different ethnicities, but they are living divided from each other. They are isolated away from each other, their own ethnicities behind walls. So white is over here, black is over here, Asian over there, Hispanic over there, and they cannot interact. You kind of get the point. And it's not like they did a census card. Oh, what do you identify as? And then put you there. Like it was, they just got shoved behind walls because it really wasn't about the racial difference. It was about dividing the people. Anyway, so I met my characters, Marcos and Rose and Harriet and Jason, and I saw them working together in an underground resistance movement. And they said to me, write it, write our story. And the next day I woke up and I'm like, I'm not a fiction writer. That's a series. I love dystopian and I love YA and all this stuff, but I knew nothing. Period. Full stop. Nothing. So I went on a long journey of learning, not only about writing, but also none of those were me. None of these young people were what I used to be as an 18-year-old, a young white young lady. So I'm writing from other people's perspectives that don't look like me. So that's like, okay, not just getting in someone else's head, I'm now getting in someone else's culture. That took a lot of care and time and interviews and a lot of time spent with people and thinking I knew and realizing, no, I don't. I don't know anything. I know nothing.
I think that that's always the best thing. The best place to land is that we don't know anything. And then that gives us the opportunity to learn and to
Mm-hmm.
grow and to be open-minded and to be able to accept new knowledge. When
Mm-hmm.
we do say that, like I know everything or have that mentality, we just really can't go forward at all. And I think that the point is to kind
No.
of get to that. We don't know anything.
Yeah, it closes off curiosity to say you already know something that okay, you know the sum total about this thing? Probably not. I'm just going to say you probably don't. That's
Absolutely. So that's how you got into like where the story came from. And I'm
yeah.
assuming you had to have give yourself this education around writing and plot
Mm-hmm.
lines and through lines and writing the characters and writing the
Mm-hmm.
emotions from the character's point of view. That's a heavy amount of education. And we're just
Yeah.
now at 2025 and you have published.
Yes.
So how did
Yes.
you go from that to right? How did you go from I have this story, but I know nothing, to now I am a published author.
So when you don't know something, I do what many people do. I started on the internet. At that time, like YouTube, it wasn't the thing that it is today. It was kind of a thing, but not really yet. So I just found a workshop and it was Gotham Writers Workshop. And I took that, and it was a very, very like, so like, hold my hand basic. This is fiction. This is nonfiction. These are genres. Like, it was that level. And then like I would go a little deeper, and I did an international writing, Iowa Writers Project, a whole summer course on writing female characters. That was fun. And I just experimented, and I grew, and I read, and I followed people like Jane Friedman and Tiffany Fox and all these other like amazing people in our industry. And I started learning. I got an education off of literally DIY, internet, and books. You should see my bookshelf on craft. Like, it's enormous. It's like so deep. And I keep some on my desk, like Save the Cat. Those There's several of those versions like on my desk. If they get put back in the bookshelf, then I'm gonna dig them right back out again. What's the point?
So then after this, did you end up going the self-publishing route, or how did you do your
Mhm.
publishing?
So I am an indie author. And so my mentor, Alexa Bigworth, really helped me walk through that decision. At first, I was dead set on traditional publishing. And I went to a conference and met a whole bunch of traditionally published authors, and they were all miserable because they had to learn how to market. And I was like, well, I'm learning over in this Women in Publishing Summit community over here. So, I mean, you can join me. None of them did, spoiler alert, but I realized, like, I already know how to market. What's the rest of this look like? I'm incredibly entrepreneurial. I've started a nonprofit when we planted our church in Cincinnati. I was the initial executive pastor, and was like the one who did all of the like the back end of the business. Business stuff does not scare me. In fact, I find it really easy. There's a lot of other things in publishing I don't find easy, but that was one of them. So when I was looking at it, I was like, well, I could basically pay someone 85% of my royalties to do this, or I could do it and keep it all. Okay, there you have it. That's the decision. It was easy. I talked to my husband, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. We set up a budget and treated it like a business.
That's incredible and so empowering, because I feel like there is so much red tape when it comes to the traditional publishing world. And then even in
Mhm.
hybrid publishing, there is, you are going to give away some of your royalties,
Mhm.
most of them. And you
Mhm.
are giving away a lot of control. You're not going to see the numbers. You're not going to know what's
Mhm.
working, what's happening behind the scenes, because if you're not really in control of that, you don't
Yeah.
have those numbers, you don't have those options.
No.
You're just hearing when there's royalties or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Exactly.
really gives you a lot of freedom and a lot of
Mhm.
control. But while you were going through this
Mhm.
process and before even publishing, did you face any negative self-talk or that critical self-talk that would maybe kind of come up as fear?
Fear is not generally something I struggle with. I'm more of the like gut instinct, shoot from the hip, let's go. Why are you afraid? There was a point when I was in the traditional like query trenches, and had gotten some requests, but then a lot of rejections. And I started questioning me as a white woman writing for non-white female characters. And this was back during the like heyday of everything has to be sensitivity, write what you know, like all these things. And there's been some pushback against that in recent days, which I'm happy about. But that was during that time, and I started to question, like, am I the right person to write this? And but I was like, wait, you did 2 years worth of interviews. You've read firsthand accounts from slaves, from the Soviet gulags, from North Korean prison camps, from every like dictator you've ever seen in this world, and you can do this. This is yours to write. So I found a good editor and got some help, and that's the end.
Well, it sounds like you're very intrinsically motivated. Like you have the ability to motivate yourself and kind of get out of
Mhm.
fear. And then it does also sound like you had a community around you. Did you have other people who were kind of supporting you through the process that helped with this
Mhm.
part?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not only, the Women in Publishing Summit community, but my church community too. They're like, no, do not give up. This needs to be told. You need to write this story, because look at our country. Look at where we are not post-racial. We may think we are, but we are not. And that's demonstrated over and over and over again. over and over. So it is something that it just burns in my veins, that passion to see our nation learn how to reconcile and have discussions instead of arguments and yelling and worse. It's that passion drives me.
Yeah, that's absolutely, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
important too. I think you already know, but the landscape, it's just so important at this moment, I think, more
Mm-hmm.
than ever to just be able to share those messages and to be able to get the real
Mm-hmm.
information out there, education and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Once you did go through the publishing process and now that your books are in the world,
Yeah.
did you face any vulnerability with that? Was there any vulnerability after the fact?
Launch day is the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. Or even launch week. Let's just say launch week. So the first book, I was a nervous mess. And like, I don't get afraid. I don't get nervous. This is not something I struggle with. Why am I struggling with this now? And so I really had to identify that, okay, wait a minute. You're placing your self-worth in fickle readers' hands. That's pretty stupid. Why don't we not do that? And I'm not saying that about anyone else. That's me. That's me. I was doing that. And so I was like, why don't we write the next book? So that's what I do now. During launch week, I'm already writing the next book.
Okay, that is a beautiful way to combat that because I feel that
Mm-hmm.
my audience, I really try to express and to show that these women authors that come on the interviews and they do have fear. They do feel these feelings and this vulnerability, and they do face it and they do walk with it, and they
Mm-hmm.
have tools to go ahead and
Yep.
get through that. Not that we just get through it. It still
Yep.
lives there. You just had a tool
Yeah.
that you brought in that now gives
Mm-hmm.
you the ability to kind of to battle that fear. And I love the way you give yourself those little truth bombs too. Like, no, I studied for this. No, I actually did the work. I did the research and now I
Mm-hmm.
can. So those tools
Mm-hmm.
feel like the way that you can kind of combat that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell other people, like, if you need reminders, write it down on a sticky note and put it on your computer. Like, that sounds so, like, I don't know, the second grade, but it's really that important to let, not get stuck in either your head or your fears or those loops of thinking. Like, just no, break those cycles and move on. Like, it's so important.
Yes, that's such beautiful advice
Hmm.
because we're not going to get anything done otherwise. It's just not going to happen.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. Can you please tell us a little bit more about your books so that people are going to be able to find your
Hmm.
titles easily?
So I write the young adult dystopian series Divided, and starts off with this little beauty. It is the story of America 45 years after we fight a civil war over racial issues. And the population is divided by up in a race and segregated behind thick, impregnable walls. And lo and behold, Marcos figures out a way outside the city. And so he escapes his native town of Queenstown, and then he gets caught. Wah wah. Ends up in a secret and illegal labor camp. And he's like, well, walls aren't my thing. So let's just free the whole camp, as you do when you're an 18-year-old young man in a dystopian adventure. So then the second book, Caged, is about Rose. All four of my characters are in all four books. They're POVs, but each one gets a book to sort of drive and be the main character that brings change. And Rose is the second book. She gets caged and she's in an elite physicist training program, except she's figured out they're trying to hide something. And so she's pressing and pressing and pressing. And she's one of those that you can't tell her stop or no. Like, she's just going to keep pressing until she figures it out. And unfortunately, she lands herself in a kidnapping situation and in a cage where she learns a devastating secret that could affect not only her nation, but the rest of the world. And she knows she has to get out. Otherwise, millions could die. So the stakes are high for Rose. And as you do in a dystopian novel, you do crazy things like cut out your own ID chip. Anyway.
This sounds so fascinating. I'm sure my audience is just like on the edge of their seat, like, okay, it's time for the next books. So I'm
Yes.
hoping that everybody will jump right on
Mhm.
that. And I will make sure to have the links, of course, in the
Yes.
description. But I want to ask one more question, if you
Yeah.
don't mind telling my audience,
Mhm.
they're on the fence. They maybe have the story in their head, but they're having a hard time getting it out into the world. And is there anything that you can say to inspire them to just keep going?
Mhm. Honestly, just write something. Don't judge your words. I'm going to tell you, your first draft is going to be awful. If you made me read my first draft of Divided right now, I would just be, can you pull my fingernails out? I'd prefer that, please. So it's probably going to be bad, but that's what beta readers and editors are for, and a second draft. Just write the story, because the first time you're writing a story, it's for you. It's for you, the storyteller. You're getting the beats right. You're trying to figure out the characters. You're getting to know the world. You don't know what you don't know when you start. So just start. Start anywhere. You'll figure out the beginning later, but just start anywhere.
Thank you so much, Cece. That
Yeah.
is so valuable. And I'm just so glad that you were here and able to spend some time with me. I
Mhm.
wonder if you could please tell my audience where they can find you, where they can find your books, and how they can
Yes.
connect with you.
So the best place is on my website, ccrobinsonauthor.com, and I have an offer for your audience. This little baby, the prequel to the Divided series, it's called Upheaval, is available for those who subscribe to my newsletter in ebook form. And so, yeah, it's at ccrobinsonauthor.com/project seed money, title of the podcast.
That is
So,
amazing. Thank you
yes,
so much.
and we have more coming next year. So get on that list so you know what's coming. Get 2 more books coming next year.
That is amazing. And then are you on any social media
Mhm.
platforms they can follow you?
I'm on most of them. I've questioned my sanity some days for being on some of them, so I may pop up here or there, but I will always have the name CC Robinson author.
That's amazing. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. And thank you for spending some time with us today. I really appreciate your time and your stories.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sharissa.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode for Project Seed Money. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I will see you with another interview next week. Bye.